Hello, and welcome to the In a Nutshell podcast with myself, Andrew Miles Davis, and my co host, Chris Branch. Now, this is the daily 10-minute podcast where we take out all of the techie talk around generative AI and focus on what the everyday person, content creator, and marketer wants to hear. Now, we've only got 10 minutes, so we can only focus on one particular subject. And today, we're going to talk about the accessory or accessories that turns us more into cyborgs than anything else. And what I mean by that is our mobile phones or any other technical devices that you can use to communicate with somebody or something. And the reason why we're going to talk about this is because recently, i.e., yesterday, Samsung announced their AI phone, which was saying to every other mobile phone company, the market's about to start or the race is about to start. And they were the first ones to kind of lay their hands down to say, look what we're doing. So we wanted to talk about some of the features, but also where we think or how we see the impact of generative AI in this particular space. Now, I didn't say mobile, I'm going to say this particular space, and there's a reason why. So, Chris, first off, are you an iPhone or Android person?
I've been in the Apple ecosystem since my music production days, but I was only turned that way because I was actually teaching Logic Pro, which is exclusive to Apple software. So for anybody that's ever used that stuff, that makes some sense. But for others, let's keep it non-techie. But
yeah, I'm the same in the sense that I'm an Apple person. I went to Samsung. I think it was the Galaxy 5. I think that was the one where I went to, and it was I didn't like it, but that's not because it's not a good device. I think it's just because I didn't know where everything is. Also, because I suffer from repetitive strain injury, so I've got problems with the nerves in my hands. I didn't have time to kind of find stuff out, so I kind of stayed stuck with Apple. But I watched the demonstration of the new Samsung AI, and I looked at some of the features. And I was underwhelmed with some of them, and I was very, very impressed with some of them. But I think it's really saying that this is the beginning of AI that's going to be part of your phone rather than you download an app like ChatGPT app and use it. So the one that I was really impressed with is something that we've spoke about many times, and that is the voice translation. Going from English to Spanish or from Spanish to Japanese, etc. But the why I liked it was because we can have a phone call and I could be speaking to you in English. And let's say, for example, you're from Poland. You can hear it in what I'm saying in Polish. And then you can speak back to me in Polish and I hear it in English.
Very useful.
And I think that's something where I was like, that was the thing where I was like, wow, like, even though I've seen that technology before, the fact that it's on the phone, which is obviously probably the best place to have it.
Communication device.
Yeah. I just think that was pretty that was very impressive. And I think it's going to be technology that you're going to see in all phones, like moving
Definitely,
forward.
We mentioned Copilot a few episodes ago, and this is Microsoft's way of making a software version of all of this technology so that when you purchase hardware, essentially you'll come with it preloaded with generative AI things. Yeah. Even we mentioned in an episode, you might have a specific key on your keyboard in order to launch these things, right? So Samsung coming with this tech out of the box like they have done is leading the wave in many. If this proves to be a very, enjoyable user experience for the customers, then other technologies will have to include it quicker. And that's one of the things that's really interesting is, like you said, some of it's gimmicky, just like some of the CES demonstrations were gimmicky, and then others were incredibly useful. And then we saw the mention of this rabbit, which is, one of the things that we're going to include in this episode, which is a piece of hardware that's opposed to a phone. It's essentially just a square box that has a digital screen on it, but the screen is not actually the most user experience. What you do is you hold a button on the side of the device and just talk to it. And it is a version of like ChatGPT or a generative AI that will then talk to the rest of your apps. So you could say, for example, hold the button and talking to a walkie-talkie and say, what's in my calendar today? and then it will reply with its voice and say, you've got 2 calls at 1 o'clock with Ben and 3 o'clock with David. And, all of that juicy information that's really interesting to us.
I'll be honest, I'm still not convinced with this type of technology. Like, I see why, I see the interest, but for example, if I, let's say, for example, what am I doing today? And I speak to it and it says you've got a call with Ben and Sandra. And I say that at the beginning of the day, I might forget during the day. Sometimes I just like to have my calendar in front of me. Say, oh yeah, I think I've got this. So
Let me
like,
ask you a question then, because you've been an OG in the like tech space. Did you ever use Siri or any of the other
no.
so you
The only one I still use is Alexa. And when I say use, it's very much, I'll say it quietly because I don't want it to go off. Alexa, play nursery rhymes. So that's
right, right.
or
So
what's the
you have
time? Or
it for
set a
very
timer. Like I keep it very, very basic. So I've never been, and to be honest, I should be just purely because of going back to what I said about my hands.
mm,
This technology was built for me, but
mm,
I've not seen a case where it's gonna add a lot more value to my life
mm,
apart from what I've seen it do. And also, I had a really freaky episode with it once where it stuck when I was in the UK. So I
mm,
usually use it in where I'm based in Spain, and
mm.
I was using a version in the UK. I didn't even mention it, and it wasn't
Yeah,
even Alexa; it was Google's one,
yeah.
and it just started playing nursery rhymes. And I
That's
was like, I've never even mentioned nursery rhymes in my where I am in the UK. So it just started playing it. So ever since then, I kind of a bit weary of them.
Well, you've just brought up one of the most interesting things which comes along with all this hardware and software, which is data privacy.
Yeah,
Because many people have had the idea that these devices listen to us 24/7 and not just when we prompt them to by saying their names.
yeah,
Now, LLMs in this walkie-talkie type fashion may help with that because it's only supposed to work when you push the button in, and then it starts to listen to your prompt and then act on your behalf. Now, the reason I asked you about whether you used Alexa or Siri, more likely, I used to use voice notes,
yeah.
is
I do that.
because LLMs or large language models for people that, these are much more useful and powerful than Siri are.
Yeah,
So they could really be your virtual assistant. So
I
it
hope so.
might be that you now are going to jump on board on this, but never have to had in the past, whereas
Yeah.
others will graduate to this thinking, what a massive jump.
So I see it from that point of view. I see that, but I don't know if it will replace my phone, and that's where it's like
No,
I
it should be in your phone.
oh, you mean as in actually you have that technology within your phone? So it's
100%,
almost
like a Jasper built in, but Siri three,
okay.
four,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
5.0
thought you meant have a
now.
second device with your phone, and yeah,
No, but we've been
okay,
leading to this, for 10
yeah,
years.
yeah, yeah.
We've
I
had
think
Siri
that
and
could happen.
versions of
To be
Siri.
honest, I actually thought that's what they were going to announce. That's why I was a bit underwhelmed. Yeah, yeah, they've got
Mm,
technology. So some of the things that if anyone didn't see what they were doing, so some of the things that you can now do on the phone is you can circle to search. So imagine
mhm,
you've got an image of something, you can just circle around it and then it will find it, and so you can do it that. Obviously, a lot to do with the camera. So the quality of the images,
mm,
the way that you can zoom in, the way you can take pictures at nighttime. You've got AI that
mm,
kind of like adjusts the quality, and as well as editing, like AI
mhm,
editing within that, and also it summarizes stuff. So a lot of the stuff that you can do on a desktop with some of the applications you can do here.
mhm,
I actually thought they would be doing what you said. I thought it will be a big game changing. You'll be able to talk to the apps. I thought
mm,
their version of Siri or Alexa, I thought that would be the main thing. Didn't see that, but maybe it will be next year, early or late. Sorry, later on this year. Maybe they just wanted to kind of just originally start, and I think it's all a lot of it is powered with Google. I think they're using it with
interesting.
Google rather than start from scratch. They're starting from something that's there, and I think that's what they're doing. Well, that's
Yeah,
what I
I heard actually, and again, not to make it too technical, but they're using a version of Google Gemini, which is for the mobile devices.
yeah,
So, one of the interesting things about the Gemini Google announcement was that there are 3 versions of their model, one that
yeah,
works on mobile, desktop, and then server level. So, like, you know, just yeah, as a roundup for all of this hardware stuff, it was really interesting to see the announcement of Rabbit and Samsung within the same 2 weeks. So
Mm,
then now, where's Apple's announcement and
yeah,
others? You know, what are we going to see next from Microsoft? Will they produce hardware? In a nutshell, this one's going to be an ongoing series about like iPhones and hardware, including Gen AI.
yeah. In a nutshell, Apple, it's your move.
Yeah, definitely.